You know, when demons get their hand on real estate, it's pretty hard to get it back. Why is that?
Bless the Lord, O my soul, and all that is within me, bless his holy name.
Hi, thanks for tuning in to Armor of God again, and as always, thank you so much for taking the time to be here with us, and hopefully you'll be edified with what we've put together for you here. Well, it's going to be another interesting compilation this time, and a couple of the clips here will focus specifically on houses or locations that are haunted. And before we start, I'd just like to remind all of you, if you have any question for Father Stephen Imbarato for our weekly question and answer session clip, I am going to share something from Monsignor Stephen Rossetti. Now, if you missed out his most recent online deliverance session, there's a link to that session in the description box below. And there are two clips here, very short ones that I'd like to share with you from the question and answer session at the end of the online deliverance session. We'll start with this.
Can we be attacked by praying for someone who continues to practice the occult? Lots of questions like that. In other words, if I do something, I say prayers, am I opening myself up to an attack? Here's a general rule of thumb. We don't recommend that the laity confront demons facia facia, which is why the prayers you use are what we call deprecatory prayers. You ask God to cast out the demons. As an exorcist, I will, in certain circumstances, i.e. a possession case, I will face the demonic presence and I'll command them to leave. Now, so there's a difference. But let's say one person was said, I was going, there's this kind of, I think, an evil place, and I wanted to throw some holy water on the streets. Well, frankly, I see no problem with that. The only thing I would be conscious of is, for example, I wouldn't recommend you go to Salem, Massachusetts and start throwing holy water on the street. You're allowed to be cursed by every witch in town. So prudence, but generally speaking, pray to God and to bless things, will be fine. Let's not be too frightened of evil, just trust in Jesus. Jesus is Lord, Satan's dust compared to Jesus. Satan's dust.
And then Monsignor Rossetti also shared a case he worked on before as he was answering the question, can dogs see spirits?
Can dogs see spirits? The answer to that is yes. We've had a number of cases where, for example, there was one family I was praying with, and the house was totally infested. I mean, it was like a bad movie, temperature things, banging, crashing, voices, it was just out of control. The dog, and the whole family was sleeping. I think I told you the story. The whole family was sleeping in one bed, the master bedroom, because they were terrified. And at the doorway, the dog's sitting there, trying to protect them, And so the dog knew, and we've seen that too, where this particular dog I knew would bark whenever the demons were approaching. Now they can't cast out demons, unfortunately, but they can warn you. So some dogs, yes. I think some cats too. For example, there was a cat, a recent situation where a guy was possessed, and he thought it was crazy. He was looking over in the corner of the room, and there was this dark shadow figure. He says, I'm just going nuts. And then the cat stares at it. He said, that's when I knew that I really did have demons, because that cat saw it too.
For the second part of this video, as usual, I'd like to share something from Father Fortea. And I'm going to share 4 answers he shared to 4 different questions, each of which will hopefully help you out with your understanding of the whole thing. So the first question is, can the soul of a condemned person possess other people? To which Father Fortea answered, yes, in my opinion, the souls of the condemned can possess someone in exactly the same way as a demon. Some possessed persons, when they are in a trance, insist during the exorcism that they are not demons but deceased human beings. The exorcist must determine if they are lying, and that is why this is a debated question among exorcists. Nevertheless, one has to take into account that no matter how much the exorcist insists in the name of Jesus that the possessed tell the truth, they do not yield in this assertion. They will yield in everything such as kissing the cross, praising God, but they insist that they are human beings who have been condemned to hell and not demons. If they obey in everything but remain firm only in this assertion, it is reasonable to believe that they are telling the truth. And the second question is this: can possessed people kill? Since a demon takes possession of a person's body and can move and talk by means of it, many people ask if a demon can cause the possessed person to kill. Experience teaches us that the possessed can do many things while in a trance state, such as remain still with their eyes rolled back, have convulsions, and shout. But a demon does not normally cause the person to physically injure himself or others for one simple reason: God does not ordinarily permit it. The demon possessing the person wants to do all the evil it can, but God puts limits on the amount of evil it can do. This being said, if a possessed person has natural suicidal tendencies, then there is a real danger that, while in the trance state, the demon may try to urge him to throw himself from a window or do some other suicidal act. Such persons should be carefully watched, and the permission of the bishop to perform an exorcism should be secured as soon as possible. Even though some possessed people, while in the state of trance, can act aggressively toward a particular individual, it is very rare that they do any real harm. Their aggression is usually limited to screaming, looking at the person with hatred, or making their hands look like claws. It is extremely unusual for the possessed to actually try to harm another person physically. On those rare occasions when they try to do this, they fail in their attempts. It is as if an outside force is preventing them from fulfilling this desire. And the next question is rather interesting, and I believe it's something some of you asked before in the comments as well. Are serial killers possessed? And according to Father Fortea, the answer is simple. Some are not. Some are possessed, many suffer from various psychiatric disorders, and as amazing as it may sound, the remainder are neither mentally ill nor possessed. They have simply chosen an evil path. We sometimes hear media reports of horrendous murders committed by certain serial killers or members of satanic cults who seem to exhibit the characteristics of demonic possession. In these cases, it is not always easy to distinguish what was done consciously and what was done unconsciously. Normally, the murderer seems to be conscious at the start of the crime, but he gradually enters into an unconscious frenzy in which he does not seem to have control of his actions. These are crimes committed by people who are truly evil in their conscious state, while at the same time possessed. So it is difficult to determine whether or not they were in a state of possession when they committed their crime. Of course, even if a criminal is possessed, this does not alter his responsibility before the law. Since there is no legal recognition of demonic possession, a serial killer is often considered by the law to be mentally ill or legally insane. Nonetheless, society cannot leave his acts unpunished on the grounds that an invisible force caused him to kill. No court could accept such an acquittal, as it would render the entire legal process insecure. And for the last one from Father Fortea that I'd like to include in this video is, can one who has been possessed be repossessed after being exorcised? And Father Fortea's answer is, the possessed person and their family asked this question with much desperation during the process of exorcism, and he answered them if the person lives in the grace of God, prays, and goes to Mass and regular confession either once a month or even more frequently, he has nothing to fear since he is protected. The evil cannot enter again. On the other hand, if the freed person returns to his old life of sin, he could be possessed again. If he is repossessed, this will be by more and worse demons. We need to leave the newly liberated in a very tranquil state, telling him that if he lives a Christian life, a demon could not enter him again, even if it wanted to. One also needs to assure him that a demon will not return even if he should commit one or more mortal sins. He is in danger only if he reverts to living in a state of sin, to an ongoing situation of estrangement from God. For example, Father Fortea shared the case of a lady who had been released from all her demons. A few days later, she called him saying that she felt bad. The feelings of oppression in her chest she had felt before, as well as other symptoms, had returned. Father Fortea was very surprised because he was certain that all the demons had been cast out of her. She assured him that, since she had been freed, she was praying a lot, reading the Bible, and doing other spiritual things. And later he laid his hands on and prayed over her. She did not go into a trance, but did feel the weight on her chest grow stronger and stronger until it gradually began to recede. As the prayer was going on, which lasted no more than 5 minutes, the oppression she was feeling became increasingly weaker until it disappeared completely. She has had no problems since then. What had happened in this case? This was clearly demonic influence. The demon had left but then tried to enter into her again. It could not re-enter because she was protected by the armor of the spiritual life. The demon could not possess her. No matter how much Father Fortea prayed, she never entered into a trance. The prayers broke this influence that the devil had over her body, and the demon was driven away forever, never to return. This is the clearest example Fortea has seen of a demon trying to return to a newly liberated person's body and unable to. The spiritual life, though we do not see it, is a true and authentic protective armor against the evil one. Now, before we get to the end of this video, I'd like to share a few clips that we've shared before and learned together to refresh the memory, and hopefully what we've learned from these priests we can share with the people around us. And these clips are in some ways connected to the earlier clips I've shared in this video. For example, what Father Dennis said earlier about it's quite difficult to get rid of demons once they grab hold of a particular location. Now compare what he said to what Father Reehil is saying here.
Can demons develop strongholds of influence over geographical regions? If so, is it possible for the church to engage in spiritual warfare against that and replace their influence? Absolutely, 100%. I'll tell you, I've felt it. I don't want to scare people, so I'm not going to name places, but I have been in places where I could feel the presence of evil just from, flying into the airport. You could feel this, like, it's almost like a heaviness, and it can be broken, but you break something, you can deliver the demons, but if you don't change the problem, they come right back, and they come back worse. So if you're living in a city that's particularly sinful, let's pretend Sodom is still around and they're doing these terrible things in Sodom and Gomorrah. Sure, Nexus can walk in and he can take authority and cast them out. And then he goes on his merry way. And guess what? The next day they all come back and they bring their friends, and it's worse than ever. So you have to change the problem in addition to casting out the demons. So there's always an issue that's allowing them. They have a legal right to be there. They're lawyers. No offense to lawyers out there, but that's what they're very legalistic. They know their limits and they go right up to them. So if you're committing all these horrible sins, a whole town is doing this, creating these big problems. Until you stop doing that, you really can't stop the demons from occupying a space. They know they're allowed to be there by virtue of the sinful behavior.
Or what Father Dennis said about those witches and satanic cults performing all kinds of activities that invoke these demons. And Father Carlos Martins shared an example that in relation to that.
So there is a connection with water and demons. Absolutely. That's scriptural, and it's also empirical. We encounter that all the time. Both witches and Satanists like to gather around bodies of water. Is there a hierarchy? Yes. That hierarchy has a character that most people would probably not guess. So, for example, witches and Satanists, they don't play nicely with one another. They don't like one another. They're natural enemies. One is a patriarchal group, the other is a matriarchal group. They don't play well in the sandbox together. Is there a hierarchy within those two realms? Yes. But Satanism and witchcraft, by and large, are way less organized than what you would think. Case in point, when was the last time somebody knocked on your door and asked you if you'd like to join their satanic club, or asked you if you'd like to join their coven of witches? So they're not after new members like, say, religious groups, Christian groups are after new members. They're not out to evangelize, so to speak. So their hierarchy is much smaller, and it's different. It's organized around achieving the goals that they want for their sect or for their coven. They're not out to convert the world to be satanic or to be Wiccan, for example. So that part is, in order to understand those realms, we've got to dispel that.
And remember what Father Fortea told us before, that we shouldn't blame the demons for everything, because at the end of the day, it's down to us whether we continue with committing the sins or saying no to sin.
Some people, they began to have more contact with bad companions, bad spiritual companions, through any way of occultism. It has no sense to say one by one the dangers. No. Everything that has to do with sorcery, witchcraft, to invoke unknown spirits is always dangerous. I do not say you will become possessed. No. Few people become possessed. But more people, it's more frequent. More people, they have influences of demons that they put thoughts on their heads, and they insist very much, and through prayer they have to make them to be away. But people do not pray. They try sometimes to resolve that problem going to other witch, to other wizard, to other sorcerer, and the problem aggravates more and more and more. Finally, when they arrive to an exorcist, they have several influences. But remember, all of you that are hearing me. Most of the things that happen to us are just human things. This world, it has given to the power of humans. Then 90% or perhaps 95% of everything, it has to do only with natural forces, human forces, psychological forces, social forces. Only a little number of actions come from demons. But we are not toys in their hands. We have received that beautiful gift that is free will. And we say no. Or we say, okay, I will hear this thought, even I do not know that thought does not come from me. But please, do not blame hell for everything, because that is not right. The Bible insists very much in the responsibility, insists very much that we are the forgers of history. We always blame the demons, but they tempt us from time to time. They are not the whole day at our side.
I know I share a lot of clips of these priests talking about demons in this video, and unfortunately, this has invited some people to comment that I'm putting too much focus on demons on this channel. But if you look at all these clips a little bit closer, I'm not presenting what the demons do and that's it. I always try to include the part where these priests will give us useful advice in relations to them. For example, what we shouldn't do, and even after one has been exorcised, what they shouldn't do so that the demons wouldn't come back. And I've released a lot of videos covering other areas of our faith, especially on daily inspiration and Christians on YouTube.
Do not fear demons. Very few things happen because of demons. The whole power of demon is just temptation. The whole ordinary power is temptation. That is just thoughts coming to your mind from outside. But you are the final judge. You are who has the final decision. The whole hell cannot force you to do something. Please do not feel you are like a toy in the hands of demons. It doesn't matter if a satanic cult is doing witchcraft against you, or macumba, or voodoo, or a dozen of sorcerers is trying to destroy your life. You are a son of God. God takes care of you. If we believe in Christ, we have not to worry. He will give us the force, the power, the grace. We will be protected.
And another example, just like this one where Father Fortea explained how possession is particularly a dangerous state for these demons.
Tempting us. And when they are in a body, is the most inoffensive way to be before a demon, because when they tempt us, they are invisible. We do not know. It's a temptation what comes to our minds. But when he is in a body, before you in a possess, in a church, and you are doing the exorcism, you know you are in front of the devil. You know that he is trying to tempt you, and you are in the middle of prayer, and you know that he is in a very dangerous situation. When you suffer a temptation, demon is attacking you. But when you are a priest and you are doing the exorcism, you are attacking, assaulting that stronghold, and he is just defending. Then is the best way to be at the side of the demon in an exorcism.
Can a demon perform a good act? Although this question can be answered by anyone with simple reasoning, simply because demons are always known as evil beings, it's interesting to hear the answer to this question from Father Fortea himself. And he answered this question by reminding us that we need to remember that demons are not engaged in doing evil 100% of the time. Nevertheless, demons cannot perform a supernaturally moral act, for example, an act of charity, supernatural repentance, or sincere glorification of God, because such an act requires supernatural grace. A demon will glorify God only if it is forced to. It may regret having gone away from God, but without any true repentance or sincere pleas for forgiveness. As such, a demon can do many other natural acts with its intelligence and will. But a demon will never have the least amount of compassion or love toward anyone. This is impossible as a result of its rebellion against God, who is love itself. A demon's heart only hates, it revels in the suffering of others. By their own free choice, the demons will feel an acute absence of the life-giving presence of God's love for all eternity.
There are many stories about that in the world. Even for me, I think there was once that I doubt such a person was a real person and not an angel, because angels when appear to help, they appear dressed normally as a human person and they disappear. That is the reason many people know that was an angel. But they help us more than we think. In one time, I'm almost sure that that was an angel. It was a very hard situation. I was completely lost, and the person that came to me from the very first moment surprised me very much for his face. His face was spreading love, spreading so many good things that I was surprised just for the face of that old man that came directly to me to help me. Sure that if you are friends of the angels, they will help you in many ways.
And this will be rather interesting. What does a demon think about? Well, as we've heard from other exorcists before, every demon retains the intelligence of its angelic nature.
God created angels, and every angel with power, beauty, and intelligence. The angelic natures were different, each one. Not everyone the same as the other, but different in the gifts they receive.
What do demons do with their time? In the world of demons like that of people, some do one thing and others do different things. Demons, of course, cannot build houses, grow food, construct machines, nor do any of the things human beings spend so much time on. Most of the time, demons occupy themselves with going deeper into the world of knowledge and having relationships among themselves and in tempting people. The intellectual world is such a vast world that the demons occupy themselves in it completely like us. In a university, for example, there can be hundreds of professors with each one specializing in some branch of knowledge. Hundreds of professors and deans work hours daily in a university, and all this work and activity produces just one thing, knowledge. The same thing happens in the world of the angelic spirits. Relationships among pure spirits may not seem important, but the demons have real, complex social relationships. And these relationships are not based merely on knowledge, but also on the pleasure of communicating with one another and helping each other tempt humans. And for the last one that I'd like to share here with all of you will be this. I think it's a very good reminder for us all.
Well, the body of a person is like a house. In the house, any spirit may go inside. Even in that house is the soul of the person. Someday the house will be destroyed and we will go out from the house. But sometimes something very rare, God permits another one to go inside the house. Remember the words of Jesus about the strong man that get to go inside the house. Well, that is in the gospel in a not very well known passage, but he speaks about the strong man that goes inside the house. Then, if a person strives to transform that house in a temple of God, in a temple with the incense of the prayer is going up all the time, if he transform the house in a temple where, like an altar in the center, the very center of yourself, and a spiritual altar of spiritual sacrifices, not material, it's something spiritual. The more and more you do yourself something holy through holy things, the more and more you transform that dwelling in a very uncomfortable place for impure spirits. Then the process of exorcism, it may be seen as a fight between the priest and the spirit with the power of Jesus. That is correct. But it may be seen also as the process of transformation of a natural being in something supernatural, in something plenty of the Spirit of God, plenty of the glory of God. In that situation, that person becomes a hell for an impure spirit.
Well then, that will be all for the video this time. And as always, thank you so much for taking the time to be here with us. Hopefully, all of you have learned a lot from this compilation. And if there's any feedback or suggestion, please do let me know in the comments below. I've recently been watching a lot of videos of this channel, MURPHSLIFE, and I really love what they're doing, helping the hardcore poor in South America, some of which never even slept on a mattress their whole life. I'm not affiliated at all to them, but if you have the time, please do watch their videos. Anyway, for those of you who'd like to support our works, I left a link to our PayPal donation in the description box below. And from the bottom of my heart, thank you so much for your continuous support, contribution, and prayer. And until the next one, stay safe, stay healthy, and may God bless you.
My mother came back from Mexico and brought something with her that looks like a dream catcher and has it hang in her living room. I asked her to remove it, and she has not as yet done so. So there will be people in your family who are doing things which might be questionable. You got to do the best you can. I mean, obviously we don't want families to be broken apart, but at the same time, you know, if you're living in a house where, for example, someone's practicing witchcraft, I mean, that can have a very negative effect on everyone in the house, whether they intend it or not. So you just got to do your best. In this case, if I were her, I'd throw some holy water on it, you know, so I would probably say this little symbol, this little artwork piece, I'd probably throw some holy water on it.